In this video, I'm going to talk about the concept of unevenness and how it affects your overall project and what you can do about it. So stay with us. Okay, so unevenness is in a pairing of three, and they're not commonly talked about. So waste, right? We know about the 8 wastes, but we also have unevenness, and then we also have, I hope I spelled that right, we have overburden, okay? These are pretty commonly talked about in the lean community, but in construction, we typically only talk about waste, so I want to talk about unevenness as well. So unevenness is when you are doing the work and then you have to stop, and then, whatever happens, and then you restart, okay? The problem with this is that when you are doing this, you're paying for people to just stand around. That's a problem. Here's my point. You could probably add 10 more qualified people to every crew on your project site and not go any faster, maybe a little bit faster. Not really go any faster if you don't have the work made ready. Meaning if you bring out more people and the work's not made ready, then all you're doing is paying for people to stand around. So this concept in construction of let's rush and push and panic our trade partners is out of sync with production theory. What we should be doing is clearing the way so that they can do their work. And they probably could do their work with the amount of labor that they have. Now, I have a really good buddy, David Brown, absolutely amazing. He does consulting for the business strategies for construction companies. He helped us start our consulting business. He's fantastic. When he goes into organizations, he typically does a study about the production of their people and their crews, because he works with a lot of trades. And he has found that the bottom 25% of these companies' workers are typically more productive than that trade's bid units, meaning the units that they're attempting to make for their different scopes of their activities. And the top 25% are at least 2 times, if not 4 times, so 2 to 4 times more productive than the bottom 25%. And then you say, well, David, how in the world could this be the case? We're not making our units, right? It's not the productivity of the crew, it's your stops and restarts, as Nicholas Modig talks about, and Par Ahlstrom in their book, This is Lean. So unevenness is really about these stops and restarts that we need to avoid. So I'm going to talk to you about a couple things that will cause the unevenness or stops and restarts and how to avoid it. One of them that will stop you or a crew right dead in the tracks is defective work. Okay? We've talked about this in other videos, but the bottom line is if we don't set expectations, if we don't have a quality pre-construction meeting, if we don't have a checklist, and if we are not orienting the crew and we're rushing and pushing and panicking, then we have defective work. All of that rushing and pushing and panicking didn't do us much good because now we're stopped. Now we've got this rework, which can take 2 to 12 times the amount of original time to fix it, and then the crew's back on track. But what's worse is you didn't just affect that crew, you affected everyone else in the train. So defective work is a huge cause of unevenness in construction. Roadblocks. You've heard me talk about that in your overall takt plan. You should be looking out 6 weeks and looking out a week in advance for roadblocks and find them. And the point there is find them early and remove them, solve those problems early, because if you don't, again, you'll go out in the field, you'll hit a roadblock, now the crew's standing around, not doing anything, and that is costing you money. Every time you see these squiggly lines, I want you to cringe and just know that however many people you have on the project site, they're just costing you money for that duration that you're held up because of that unevenness. Now, if you lean professionals are thinking, unevenness doesn't mean exactly what this means. Hey, I'm adapting this to construction. Stay with me. We've already talked about leveling in other videos. I am attempting to address specifically stops and restarts. So the work is not even, it is interrupted, okay? And you're spending money every time you see me draw one of these squiggly lines. One easy one that we can talk about is if a crew is doing work, and obviously if the previous area is not ready, then they have to stop. They're waiting around until they can get started again. So delays can affect us quite a bit. One that I'd like to talk about is production loss, okay? So production loss can come from a number of things. You know, a lack of training. It can come from onboarding new people that, you know, where it was not necessary. It can come from a change in the crew that was not foreseen. It could come from variation. Whatever the case may be, typically in that pattern that I've given you before, it's the activity time, okay? And then the amount of variation that the crew experiences, and then the production loss. So production loss can come from a number of different places, but what I want to communicate right now is that if the crew, let's say this was 100% productivity and this was 0, depending how you measure it, let's say that that crew got up and was hovering at a nice place. Oh my gosh, now you've changed the plan. Okay, now we're back. Okay, now we've changed direction. Now we've added additional crews, right? You are going to have unevenness from production loss because of the variation that you're experiencing. I would also like to loop in here that if you have zones that are not properly leveled, right? Let's just say that the team hasn't leveled the zones. And when a crew comes here and then to here, there's a lot more density to the work. They're going to be held up before they go to the next zone. So their productivity might look like this, and then it goes down, and then it comes back up, right? Or what you could see in their activities is that when you do the first zone, they were zone 1. Then when they did zone 2, they took quite a bit longer because of what the work took, and then they're back to zone 3. This is not even. This is not even. So we must make sure that we're leveling our zones. Also, just briefly, when we are looking at our trades, remember I said if you're in one zone and you had a trade that was a different duration, right, you could cascade that first one, but the second one would put you at a different line of balance that is not even. It causes a gap here, and it also causes a break for the successor trades. So the bottom line is anything that creates stops and restarts, anything that creates variation, anything that takes away from our evenness in construction really hurts our production, makes it to where any of the workers on site are just standing there and we're paying for their hourly rate without any work being done, even for preparatory work or finishing, even within a buffer, right? We're just wasting dollars at that point. So unevenness is bad. And I just want to close out by saying that again, when you have a crew with workers, stop rushing, pushing, and panicking them. Make work clear out ahead and clear the path so that they can be successful. That's how we make money. Otherwise, even if you added 10 trained people to every one of your crews on site, all you would be doing is paying for 10 extra people because the work's not made ready. So be careful of unevenness. I hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.